two approaches are the same in terms of calorie reduction, but the response from the body is very different because of the rate of restriction that's being applied. That is the key here. Okay, I'm a little annoyed because I see this across multiple platforms all the time, and quite frankly, it just makes my blood boil just a little bit. I see all this misleading information about 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body fat, and the notion that that applies to everyone always. And my goal here in this video is to help people like you understand that you should not ever assume that that theory relates to you. I want to help as many people as I can to avoid falling into the trap of thinking that if they just simply take off 500 calories every day from what they normally eat, then everything will be hunky-dory and the pounds of fat will just fall off them. It just doesn't work that way. So let's cover some background behind this whole 3,500 calorie thing, and then we'll have a look at two videos that are absolute shockers. I mean, there are many out there that are shockers, but we'll have a look at two videos that are particularly bad, and then we'll have a look at some of the theory behind this the whole notion, and why it perhaps could not be right for you. So the background seems quite straightforward, doesn't it? Just take away 3,500 calories a week from your diet, which is 500 a day, and then poof, the pounds or the pound for that week of body fat will just be gone. And food scientists will probably back that up and say, yes, indeed, the way that calories are burnt and the heat's produced and it's measured, 3,500 calories a week is a pound of fat. Therefore, omit it from your diet and you'll be right. And this, however, is the problem. That might not be right for you. And therefore, it's a very misleading statement to make, such a blanket statement that apparently applies to all people all the time.
Welcome to your fat loss cheat sheet. If you want to lose about 1 pound per week, you're going to need about a 3,400 calorie deficit per week.
It's 3,500 calories a week, not 3,400. Probably need to get that one right.
So that's going to be about 480 calories per day.
500 calories a day.
So let's say that you want to lose 10 pounds, we're going to need a 480 calorie deficit per day for 10 weeks.
So basically, burn 480 calories a day, according to this, and the fat will just melt away. Do 10 or 20 weeks of it, and it will just continue to melt away.
Or a 250 calorie deficit per day for 20 weeks. Now, if you want to lose 20 pounds, you can either double this or double this. If you want to lose 5 pounds, you can half this or half this.
And it gets better. This method apparently applies for 20 or 40 weeks. And you can even play around with the numbers.
You're welcome.
The only thing that we are welcome for is potentially destroying our metabolism, doing some serious damage to our mindset, which is arguably more important, and finishing off in a worse position than what we started. So understand that this is more than just a simple maths equation. The body is quite a complicated organism, and you need to understand the science and then implement it. One needs to encourage the body to burn body fat, not just simply demand it because a calculation said that that's what would happen. So let's have a look at video number 2, another one that's just full of insight.
Did you know that in order to lose 1 pound of body fat, which incidentally is a healthy amount to be losing a week?
Yep, theoretically true, all depending on your starting point and your recent history.
You need to be burning 3,500 calories. Now, if we look at that over the space of a week's got 7 days, 3,500 calories divided by 7 means you need to be in a calorie deficit of 500 a day.
This is the very issue.
If you haven't watched my other videos, go and watch them.
Might take a pass on that.
If you have, you should already know how to create that deficit. Either reduce the amount of food you're eating or increase your exercise.
It's a pretty challenging approach to burn 3,500 calories from exercise alone. And how are you even going to measure that?
Or do both, and it means you're not as restricted with your food and you're getting fitter and healthier.
Again, trying to track the number of calories that you've burnt is just a recipe for failure.
Now, you should also have a calculation of the amount of calories it takes to maintain your body shape.
Body shape? I think he means body weight. Well, I hope he does.
Now, all you're going to do is take 500 away from that, and that is a healthy way for you to burn 1 pound of body fat a week.
Oh, so much to say about this. Calorie maintenance levels. A one-size-fits-all calculation, it just doesn't exist. Don't even try to find a website that will tell you your number, the magic number. It's all trial and error. This really needs to be understood. So this is the same issue as the first video, claiming that 3,500 calories a week, or 500 a day, will equate to body fat loss, or 1 pound of body fat loss. You can't assume that's going to be the case for you. Right, here's a case study. Let's use this to demonstrate how all of this other stuff is nonsense. And let's get down to how the body actually works. Let's take two people, one male, one female. Let's call them John and Jane. Now, John currently, his maintenance level, currently eats 3,300 calories per day. John is going to reduce his calories by 500 calories per day, therefore producing a 3,500 calorie deficit over the course of that 7-day period. John is now eating 2,800 calories per day. Jane started with 1,800 calories per day. And she too wants to emit 500 calories a day, so 3,500 over the course of a week. Jane is now eating 1,300 calories per day. So what's happened? Well, John has had a 15% reduction in calories, whereas Jane has had a 28% reduction in calories. Almost twice as much as John. Now we're going to have two different outcomes. John has had a nice conservative, and this is the crux of this argument. John has had a conservative 15% reduction, therefore the body feels okay, or at least it will for a couple of weeks. But it feels okay, and therefore it is willing to liberate the fat stores, willing to let them be transported to where they're going to be burnt, and then they will of course be burnt, fat oxidation, and therefore fat is likely to be burnt. The body doesn't really feel threatened, therefore it will allow the fat to be burnt. Off it goes. Especially if weight training is involved, because then John has a reason to maintain or preserve or even develop muscle during that time. Now Jane has a 28% reduction. This is an entirely different ballgame, a completely different result. The body is now having signals of extreme danger, red flags everywhere being sent, in that this is an extreme reduction, it's almost a third. So therefore the body is going to react in a very different way. It is not going to just, like John, say, here you go, have your body fat, go and burn it, off you go, use that as fuel. Instead, it's going to be more inclined to hold on to the body fat and let the muscle be what is used for fuel. And if it carries on, then it might even creep into bone density, and definitely water weight will be liberated as well. But that is the point, is that these two approaches are the same in terms of calorie reduction, but the response from the body is very different because of the rate of restriction that's being applied. That is the key here, which those two videos just didn't mention whatsoever. Oh, and it's worth mentioning as well with Jane, is that when she has such an extreme reduction, all of her hormones are going to be ramped up to make her feel like eating food, binging on food, because that's the way the body tries to get these nutrients coming in again. Whereas John probably isn't going to feel that way. He might to an extent, but he probably won't, because the body's not that concerned. In a couple of weeks, probably that'll start occurring, but Jane's going to get that right away. She might have a day or two where it's not too bad, but then she's going to feel hungry, and she's going to feel worse after her binge and after her little snacks here and there, because she's going to end up probably fatter than what she started, although she'll probably weigh less because she has had the reduction in calories. So John has done well. He's had a conservative cut. the body is liberating body fat, and that's okay. We'll revise that in a couple of weeks' time, see how he's going. Jane is just in a bad way. She's hungry, she's irritable. She has done something akin to a starvation diet or a crash diet, just cut a whole bunch of calories, almost 30% from her diet. So the result there is going to be so much different. It won't be 1 pound of body fat. It'll be a pound of weight, but it won't be a pound of body fat. John is closest to that pound of body fat, if not bang on it. So a 15% versus 28% cut, both of which are 500 a day, both of which are 3,500 calories over the course of a week. Two dramatically different results, because that's the way the body works. The signals that are sent and the degree in which the body is going to liberate the fat. You've got to take care of yourself and encourage fat loss, not just demand it because you're cutting 500 a day of calories. And that's why it goes so much beyond a simple maths equation. And that's why those videos irritate me so much. So to close off, don't be sucked in by this notion. Don't go getting your pen and paper out or your app or whatever and planning out your cuts and how you're going to achieve a pound of fat loss. Instead, look at bigger picture and make sure you're encouraging your body to liberate fat to burn. Because it's a stubborn old thing. It won't just do it because you want it to. You've got to follow the rules and make sure you're working with it, not against it. I'm Simon from the Deep South Experiment. Thanks very much for joining us. If this has been useful to you, give it a thumbs up and I'll see you next time.